Call the fiscal court meeting to order. This is a special meeting. However, on this special meeting, as media noted on the agenda, we put a very wide range of topics on there. Jimmy and Rob, Randy, so we try to put as much on there as we could to not circumvent the special meetings laws, where special meetings you can discuss only what's on the agenda. So I think we covered everything in full. If you see something that we're discussing that's out of line, raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you and I'll move on. No. But we have a quorum of county magistrates here, Elaine, just for the record. We'll turn it over to the mayor.
Okay, and I'd also like to call this special call meeting of the Bardstown City Council to order. And we have our agenda there. I want to first start out by thanking a few ladies, Rhonda with the fiscal court, and Jennifer and Mary with the city for helping put this together, get the food, the room, the location handled. Thank you, ladies, for doing that. If we could, we've done this type of meeting in the past. If we could, we'll start with Councilman Butler. I'd like everybody to go around, just introduce yourself and tell what your role is with either the county government or the city government, if you would, so we kind of know who you are and what your role is in today's meeting.
Joe Butler, Bardstown City Council. My committees that I serve on City Council are Street Department and the cemetery. And whatever else they want me to do at the time.
John Kelly, I'm chair of the safety committee and I serve on a couple other committees.
Sam Hutchins. I'm on the personnel committee and building and grounds committee for the county.
And health department.
And the health department.
Last year.
Roland Williams, City Council. I'm on the rec department, finance, and electric department.
Murder Nights, personnel, bill committee, and personnel.
MBIDC.
David Dones, Bardstown City Council. I chair the Electric and Cable Committee and serve on Recreation.
My name is Matthew Height. I'm the county attorney. I'm just kind of a jack of all trades.
Master of Dean Watts, county judge.
Dickey, Mayor, Bardstown.
Tim Butler, city attorney for Bardstown.
Keisha Copeland, City Council.
Keith Metcalf, District 1, very proud to be there. I'm on the jail committee, I'm on the EMS committee,
Recreation board.
and recreation board. Thanks y'all for coming.
Bill Shepard, Bardstown City Council.
Jeff Lair, 4th District Magistrate. I'm on recreation.
EMS.
I'm Jerry Hunt. I'm a magistrate in 5th District. I on the ground committee of the road department.
Yes, go to Elaine. No, excuse me.
That's right, you can go to her, man. That's right.
Let's go.
I'm Logan Spalding. I'm the building official for Nelson County. We also do the nuisance, signs, drainage, about everything else nobody else wants. We do it. So,
Okay, I'm Elaine Cody. I am Nelson County Clerk and Fiscal Court Clerk.
Greg Ashworth, I'm the HR Director and Risk Manager for the city.
Tracy Hudson, City of Bardstown, Jessica Tully Astro, City Civil Engineer.
Travis Greenwald, I'm working with Jesse to start this week.
Liz Mattingly, Nelson County Sheriff.
City of Bardstown.
Billy Madden, Nelson County Fire and Rescue Chief. Thank you.
Martin Powell, City of Bardstown, Katie.
Eric Richter, City of Bardstown, staff engineer, interject bills for electric, cable, and internet.
Mary Riley. Jennifer Eckmeyer, I'm new to the city, I'm an assistant city clerk.
Tyler Woodson, I'm the county director.
Veronica Wood, I'm the Wilson County Treasurer.
Joe Pruitt, I'm Director of Emergency Services for the county, which includes emergency management and emergency notification.
Jane Johnston, Crow Planning Zone Director.
Brad Spalding, County Engineer.
John Greenville, Landfill Manager.
Thank all of you all for coming and joining us today. Note on the agenda, we've specified some of the departments we're going to talk about and open it up for questions and discussions. But I think first we're going to start out with the judge and I kind of just give you all an overview of what's going on within the city and some of the cooperative things that we're working on together.
Go ahead, Mayor, you're on the list first, go ahead.
Just kind of give you all some updates on these departments. The police department, as some of you know, we were about 7 officers short in May, and with the help of the city of Marksbury was interim chief, and now the chief pressing on duty, we've now got that down to just 2. We hired 2 more this week that'll start November 1st. So that's, we're making good progress there. We've put in an extra captain's position. We're going to have 2 captain's positions for the assistant chiefs, and the newest one will be in charge of training, the K-9 certification, and working also, we're working with the school districts to upgrade their safety programs. And we've started that. We're having one-on-one meetings with school districts as well as individual schools. Thank you. Working with the schools to upgrade their safety package or safety programs in their schools. That's kind of what's happening with the police department, fire department. We just got a grant for $60,000 through the Department of Homeland Security for a hazmat protective gear. So we're happy to get that. We've just certified 5 new volunteers to complement our full permanent staff. And one thing we're working jointly with the county and the city E911 Dispatch is a program called RAVE. It's a mass communication program. It's going to be funded through the E911 budget. But this differs from the Code Red program that we had several years ago in that today there are so many more people that are utilizing smartphones than they were back then that depend on smartphones for their communication. Yesterday, Judge and I were at a meeting. We heard from a gentleman who's an expert in this field. So today, for every 100 individuals in the United States, there are 114 smartphones in circulation. So the first time around, I think Code Red, we didn't have enough people sign up to really make it that effective. We really think that's going to change this time around. Because I know people that are 70 and 80 years old now that are using smartphones and texting and Snapchatting and Facebooking and so forth. So we think we can get the take on signing up for this notification program much better. Of course, it'll warn people about weather issues. Out in the county, we'll be able to tell people whether it's flooding issues, road closures. In the city, it's a great asset for us. It also affects county residents as well. It's like, well, we got an internet outage or a cable television outage. I mean, that just blows up dispatch, it blows up the police department, the CSRs, and everybody wanting to know. We'll be able to give them updates on outages and so forth like that when they occur with this RAVE program.
Boil water advisory.
Yeah, boil water advisory. So it's safety, it's quality of life that will be impacted by this program. And we at the city can market it better because we actually have hundreds and hundreds of people every month changing addresses, signing up for new water, sewer, electric, cable services. And that's how we'll help promote it along with the use of social media and that sort of thing. That's kind of the joint venture between E911 and the fire departments and so forth, and the police department. We think our ISO rating, we're going to request a new survey for ISO rating the first part of 2018. We expect that rating to go down within the city limits, which is going to save residents and businesses hundreds of dollars on their insurance premiums, so we look forward to that. I know a lot of the magistrates are interested in the internet and cable, because most of our expansion at work is going on outside the city limits. And I know I get calls. Sam, he likes to call me a lot. I don't know, Sam, you've got a little bit too much on this right now. When I share where this is going, I'm gonna have to help Jerry Hahn a little more on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But right recently, we just completed Wilson Creek Road, half of Hurricane Hills. We've got Masden, Thompson, Domes has just been completed. Coming up, we've got Shoemake, Tom Greer will start soon, and later on in this budget year, we'll have Plum Run Road out to Wilkerson Road, Lehman Ford, Keith Knob, Shady Lane, and Petersburg. Pretty good too. So, we've also recently run some fiber and conduit out to the Dean Watts Park, which is going to help with better Wi-Fi connection out there. And this is kind of a joint effort between the city and the county. And we're upgrading our capacity at the cable plant, which will improve speed and dependability. And recently, we're working on a connection with the E911 dispatch. And the Bardstown Police Department, which should help, I think, go with radio coverage. That's another thing that our internet cable department's involved with. There's always discussion about money. Of course, we know the big elephant in the room is this pension issue, which we saw some things released yesterday. But just quickly for us, we're currently facing a $972,000 increase with what our contribution would be just for the 18 and 19 budget year, unless there's some changes made. The judge and I were in a meeting yesterday, and we didn't see anything so far that's going to help that situation next year. I guess the truth will come out when we see this special session, but in the event that doesn't happen, Tracy and I and our auditor have already been meeting. We could have to delay some general fund projects in order to make sure we have enough general fund reserves to cover this increase. I mean, even in the best case scenario, when they cut it in half, we're still facing a $500,000 hit increase next year. So we'll be looking at that and see what the special session brings to us. For recreation, we call it the Kobeck building. That's the former Hope Lady Home Middle School and High School. City of Bardstown Educational Center is what Kobeck stands for. But we just got a handicap ramp put in there, and we're going to be starting a robotics class in conjunction with the 2 public school districts. After the first year, we think that robotics class will get started. Representative McCoy is kind of spearheading that. It's a great program to educate young people on robotics and help. It's a workforce development program that could provide valuable training to students that can go right into the workforce as soon as they get out of high school. We're expanding our 5th quarter basketball leagues to 4-year-olds this year. We spent $114,000 on the air conditioning at the Kobeck building, and then there's going to start an adult volleyball league. We hadn't had volleyball league, I think, in city recreation for a number of years. We're going to start a co-ed volleyball league in the spring. Then lastly, I just talked about some of the engineering and more public work projects. Our water treatment plant, we finished the backwash plant project, and we're working now on a chloramine conversion program, which is going to make us compatible with treating our water in the same way that Louisville Water Company is treating theirs. It'll also be an improvement in quality of water, as we've got areas where water stagnates in the distribution lines, and this chloramine treatment will help prevent some taste issues long term. Once that project's complete, that's a $1 million project on top of a $1.3 million backwash project. And then out in the county more, and part of the city, we call it the Round Creek and Potter Shop Road sewer distribution system. It starts all the way out to American Greetings and works your way forward into town through Woodlawn Springs and the Poplar Flat area and that area, and then on into the Industrial Park and the 245 corridor on down to the Potter Shop. That'll be about a $2.5 million upgrade that we'll be doing this year. So that will be badly needed because we're at pretty much capacity on those lines right now. And one last thing is, right now we have a multi-purpose trail from Highway 62 at 245 over to Highway 150 at Walmart. And so there's kind of a disconnect there. Well, now we're going to tie that trail in, starting at 62 going west towards Chambers Boulevard. We got a grant for that, $552,000 grant with a match from the city close to $140,000, but that'll be a much improved access both for commuting, people walking to some of those businesses on the 245 corridor, but also provide walking trail, bicycling trails, tie in that long 245 corridor. So that's kind of an update on what is going on. I'm sure we might have questions as we get to that part of the meeting. So I'll turn it over to the judge at this point.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to stand after eating. Get a little sluggish there. Let me say I want to start off by kind of telling the council and the magistrates where we are financially, what our budget is, and break down our budget. The county's total budget this year is about $24 million. I think you can consider it about 48-some million, 53. I'm a year behind now. Our general fund's $7.9 million, of which a large percentage of that, at least $1.2 million or so, helps subsidize the jail. And I'll get into that conversation in just a minute. Our road fund this year is $3.8 million. It's a little higher than usual, and because we were able to get some grant monies and bridge monies and some other monies that normally are not in there. And the magistrates twisted my arm, put some additional blacktop money in that fund too, so we were able to do that. The jail total budget is $1.9 million. The EMS fund is $2.8 million. The solid waste fund is $2.57 million. And the occupational tax generates about $1.2 million. Of course, that's a $75 cap. That's up about $100,000 over the last year. So that's all good news for us. County has no owned debt. County doesn't owe any debt payment itself. The ALC owns the courthouse justice center payments, and they funnel that money through us, but the state's paying all that money as well. So far this year, we've received $294,000 for 2 bridges. You saw that in the paper maybe the other day. That's a big chunk. Normally you don't get that much on a bridge grant. That's going to be a real good project. Heaton Loop and Hugh Ice Loop in Burns District. We had $25,000 from the Sheriff's Department grant this year for the tasers, the new tasers, replacement tasers. Outdoor weather warning siren, Joe and them submitted a grant for that. $21,000 on the initial. Yeah. On the initial, and then we're doing an additional supplement of $5,000 for the supplement. Flex funds this year, the county has a pot of money that the state uses for rural secondary state roads. We were able to pull all of that money out, about $196,000 to go on county roads instead of state roads. And then we got another $126,000 in discretionary blacktop money. Just got that the other day. That figure used to be about double, but we were able to take what you can get, you work within the realm that they give you. So total this year grants $663,000 so far. At our Nelson County Industrial Park, we have about 152 acres of property remaining, of which about 40 to 50 real marketable acres. Everything's marketable, but I'm talking about at the premium type of property. The county still has about $1 million in unrecovered funds into the industrial park when we upgraded the gas line, the high pressure gas line that we had aboard the Bluegrass Parkway and come under. But we also upgraded that gas line enough to take into account Mr. Ballard's farm, about 300 plus acres. So it's not really all involved in just the industrial park. It was a much larger upgrade. Likewise, the park itself, when we initially started the park, we're talking about the Woodlawn roadside of the park not being a real good area for industrial, but in order to make a public purpose out of this park, we extend the road all the way from 605 to 150. So we spent some extra money that you wouldn't normally have spent in an industrial park by making a public purpose and a good cut-through road there. Everybody seems to welcome that. Dispatching operations, I'm trying to keep my thumb in the last year or so, 8 months on the dispatching budget and everything. Rhonda and I are kind of keeping our eyes on that, and everything's good there. City and county had to actually contribute a whole lot less this year than previous years to that fund, and we hope to continue to do so. The Wi-Fi, the mayor mentioned the Wi-Fi a few minutes ago at the park. I want to thank the city for the cooperation. I believe, Tyler, it's Wi-Fi accessible now out in the park, just about everywhere in the park. Okay. Thank you all for that effort. And 150 project, we announced in court the other day that the Springfield Road Bridge on Highway 150 will have a letting on October the 27th. That's about a $6 or $7 million project to get the improvements out by the Maywood area started. We hope over the next few years that the state will continue to push that project forward. There is a $500,000 expenditure appropriated, and the state's going to do a review of a possible west bypass, or I guess a west connector road, some sort. I don't know what scope it's going to be yet, but there is money appropriated for that project as well. Challenges we face. Magistrate Lear and I had this conversation the other day before or after court. Probably the biggest challenge we have facing us is we're going to have to deal with a new jail somewhere along the line. The county continues to grow. Unfortunately, our current property does not allow for adequate expansion. So we own the property at the Justice Center, so somewhere in that area we'll probably consider a new jail in the future. Probably we'll wait till after the election cycle to start those serious conversations, because we don't want to throw something in somebody else's lap and them not being able to deal with that issue, but it is a major issue. Just initial windshield view, it can be anywhere from $5 to $10 million. Probably in the upper, close to 10, maybe 12. Depends on how large you want to make your jail. We're at 100 beds now. We're averaging anywhere from 130 to 160 inmates. Every jail in the state right now is at that capacity. And a few years ago, about less than 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lot of empty beds. So you can't bank on keeping other counties prisoners on a regular basis. It will backfire on you. Some counties have got in financial trouble by doing so. So magistrates, we're going to have to at least have that conversation as we go forward the next 10 or 12 months and see how we can deal with that issue. Excuse me. The retirement fund, as the mayor mentioned, our county portion of that increase is $775,000. Rhonda and I showed Jeff the other day, we are prepared to deal with it in some form or fashion. I suspect they're going to break it up in 2 or 3 years. Actually, I heard maybe up to 4 years of that requirement to get to where we are. But some small counties, smaller cities, will have a much tougher time of dealing with it. I think the General Assembly realizes that. I had a conversation with Senator Barrett in town yesterday, and Jimmy Higdon recently, and they're aware that small counties will have a hard time dealing with it. But we're prepared. If they tell us today we need $775,000, we're going to move some things around and do things a little differently. We're prepared to deal with it. That's the bottom line. 3% increase in the employees' contribution that was announced yesterday for the retirement. Now, that's a bigger issue. That's coming out your all's paychecks, your employees' paychecks. You got the back of the garbage truck, the guy that's a mechanic, the guy that's mowing the grass for you. And that on a $30,000 or $40,000 a year salary, that's a car payment or a house payment or two. Depends on how you look at it, and that can be significant to a family. So again, I talked to Senator Barrett and Representative Moore yesterday and made them aware that that's a pretty significant increase if they do it all in 1 year. So I've asked them to consider spreading it out some. And I also asked where, I'm getting a little politics here, but that's not my intention here, but where is the state on their funding mechanism for the state employees? How are they gonna make up, like, they're asking us to put more in the retirement system, but I haven't seen how much more the state can put. But they tell me they don't handle that in the budget cycle. Landfill expansion, John, being a new engineer, has his hands full. He's got Brad obviously assisting him, but we are looking at an expansion, Brad, John, about 7 or 8 years from now?
About 8 years, 8 to 10.
And we've started the pre-permitting process. It will take 2 or 3 years to go through that process, but we are working towards that goal, and I think it'll go good. I think we'll be successful. Industrial property will become a shortage here shortly of places to put factories. Our infrastructure is tapped. When I say infrastructure, not just city water and sewer, you have natural gas. Unless we can acquire some other property out by the industrial park, natural gas is not as plentiful in Nelson County as you think it is, especially the larger lines that's needed for industrial purposes. Likewise, I think there's a shortage, and will continue to be a shortage unless we come up with some plan. I've got some ideas down the road for housing, new subdivisions. I think you'll see a shortage of that as well, because the infrastructure has been built up over the last 20-some years. In the outskirts, developers have used every avenue possible, other than septic systems, but for subdivision to be on sewer, water, and gas, it's going to be limited. It already is limited. So that might stymie our growth a little bit. So we have to think how we're going to handle that when our kids want to come back home and build new ones. Any questions? Thank you all.
Before we get started into the open discussion meeting, I just want to thank, I know some of the magistrates and council members who all been kind of talking with each other over the last few months, and brought this idea really, I think, to the judge and I thank you all for making that recommendation. I think we all see that both the city and the county, we are working more closely together on projects, and I know our new chief of police is kind of working with the sheriff's department and networking there in a positive manner. So I know you all have offline conversations sometimes about all the different needs we have in the city and the county, but that's why we decided to have this luncheon today, is to encourage some more open dialogue between the city and county governments, and see if there's some things we can do together to make things better here in Nelson County for the people that we are elected to serve. So now we could open up for any discussion. Anyone have any questions, from the council members or magistrates? We've got a ton of brain power here with our staff that are all here today, so I challenge you to challenge them if you've got some questions you'd like to ask or any concerns.
You think I might just make, yeah, go ahead.
In reference to the pension crisis we've been going through, in the last couple of weeks, we had our Kentucky League of Cities annual convention. I was fortunate enough to get elected back on the board of directors, and the League of Cities are very adamant about separating KERS from the state retirement system, and they pretty much so much as issued that mandate to the state government in the last KLC conference. They want to separate the two boards, form their own pension board with the CERS for the city and county and school board members, and let the state people deal with the shortfall that they've incurred over the years on their own. In the state retirement system board, there's very limited representation from the CERS people. So they would like to get a 9-member board with certain qualified members of that board to deal with our own CERS. The CERS, counties and cities, contributions we've been doing, what the state has mandated us, we've done that. So our part of the state pension issue is not in a bad shape. It's the state employees, the state legislators, they have not done what they were supposed to be doing to keep this pension crisis where it should be. So you'll hear a lot more of that as this new plan gets presented in the special session. But the United Cities effort on behalf of Kentucky City, we're adamant about separating the CRS. I don't know what CAECO, I don't know if you've heard.
CAECO's the same way. They've advocated, and the Judges Association as well, but the governor and the General Assembly members I've spoken to outside of our district says it's not going to happen.
Well, they did issue some warnings that if we continue along this path, that some of there may be repercussions down the road. But the KLC is still adamant about they want to push it. They're not backing down, so we'll see. We'll see.
And I was going to make a comment here about, when we talked about having this meeting together, out in the public's eye, I had a lot of people question, is there any possibility of putting some of the city's and county services back together? In particular, the fire department, in particular, recreation. Time cures a lot of ills, but with what the city has done at the fire department level, you can't go backwards. It's been an asset, there's no doubt about that. But there is a spirit of cooperation, still going on within the departments, I think, more so than the public probably sees. At the recreation level, I can only speak for myself and not for the court, but it's going to be pretty hard for us to go back to the joint board when everything's functioning properly. It doesn't mean that we can't share, each other's resources. It doesn't mean you can't share each other's ideas and continue to work together that way. But if somebody sees different, council, court members see differently. I can't see it going back together.
Directors can get together and work together and do a cooperative effort on make sure
we were about at the verge at the park of needing a person out there on a full-time basis anyway. But the timing wasn't, I think Jeff and Keith agreed with me on that. Timing just, it happened, and it's sad because we could have worked it out, but we were going to add in some things out to the park. But it doesn't mean that the guys can't and the girls can't work back together.
Did the bleachers ever go back?
We did get about 5 or 6 sets.
Some of them. Some of them came back. Yeah, thank God.
Yes, some of them came back.
Some of them came back.
6 or 7 sets, right, Todd? 7.
All right, can we open it up for any other questions or comments from the council or magistrates? Sarah?
I would like, I've got a little something I want to give you all as an idea. There's going to be a joint venture between police departments and the sheriff's office, and that FOP is going to be helping try to get this project together. But before I do that, I want to say thank you all in getting the police department where I think it needs to be, and I think you all made a good choice in the chief. And I realize it's going to take time for the patrolman to get used to a new style of leadership, but I think you're making a good choice.
He's back.
And with that in mind, I don't think that most of the men and the patrolmen and the deputies never did really have a problem amongst each other with that time. And I look forward to doing things with Kim, and I know she's out on some R&R. And one of the deputies of mine that's kind of spearheading this project, it's a monument that we want to put up in the courthouse. And like everything, it takes a little bit of money to do it. And the Fraternal Order of Police is going to start a fundraising campaign to get this monument started. And it's for police officers that died in the line of duty in Nelson County. And there are 5 officers that have been killed in the line of duty since early 1920s. I think there was one state officer with the alcohol beverage control, and there's been 2 deputy sheriffs, city police officer, and a constable. And what is in this package is a picture of a monument that they planning on purchasing. I've spoken with the judge. I kind of like it when the younger guys take the initiative to put something together. One of the deputies paid for these out of his pocket, put the work in to getting the cost on the monument. I've said something to Judge Watts about possibly having matching funds to what they raise. They anticipate this project to cost about $20,000. The idea was to put this in an area in front of the courthouse between our offices, where the deputies and police officers could go and reflect, and have a bench to be there. It also, we would have a ceremony there every May during Police Week. I know that you all are putting up money, sending people to Washington, D.C. So whatever funds that you all came up with in the future might just be a replacement for that trip. So it wouldn't cost you any more than what you're already spending if you looked at it that way. So you'll see these guys out selling chances on different items in the future. If you can help us out, we would appreciate it. And it's just a thing where they're working together to come together to make the project happen.
And like you said, I've seen the cooperation between the guys at the lower level go right on. Even during the difficult times between the mayor and the council folks and the court. So, good project. The next budget cycle, or just, after January, I can give you a better picture of where we are on his retirement. Thank you, Sheriff.
Judge, does he have a site in mind for this?
At the Justice Center, somewhere in between, probably in between the 2 law enforcement and two areas out there. Where we're at about?
When Jason was killed, a landscape company donated an area right there at the end of the building between the courthouse and the police department. It's kind of a sitting area. That's an area.
Dress it up and put them on. It needs to be. You know, we have the, on the volunteer side of the fire department, we have Chief Mattingly here today. You know, I mentioned the fire department earlier, and you're one of the volunteer fire department chiefs that we have in the county. Has there been any discussion with you guys about mutual aid, some kind of mutual aid? And I know the automatic thing can't happen, but are you doing mutual aid now?
We have mutual agreements with all the departments in the county now, but, you know, it's funny you should mention that. We are pursuing automatic mutual aid agreements with all of our county departments. And we've had some discussion with the mayor and fire chief of the city also. So, you know, we're always pursuing that avenue. It only helps, you know, if you do it on a structure fire only, which is what the most important part is. So it only helps each other. It's a safety, you know, it's like a safety issue for your guys.
Chief, how many structure fires did you have with your last calendar year or fiscal year outside of the city limits?
Actual structure fires, you kind of caught me off guard, but I'm going to say no more than 8.
I didn't purposely try to catch up. You told me the other day, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times you'll get calls that may be structure fires, but they turn out to be something different. But I think actual structure fires, I think we had around 8 last year.
Would that improve the ISO rating for everyone involved?
It would, yes, sir. Doing an automatic agreement on a structure fire, you get the credit of that station, that equipment, and that manpower. So it definitely helps your ISO.
And for those that are not involved on a daily basis, of course, the city has a full 24/7 fire department and emergency service, their first responders. The county side, through the volunteer side, you have a shift at the daytime from what time to what time and how
8
many
to
days
4, we have 5 guys on duty, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday.
that are paid?
They're part-time employees, they're all paid.
I didn't know if you knew that or not, guys.
I know I've had some folks, and I'm sure you have too, Mayor, down in Handy Food Mart area, ask that question, because their ISO rating down there, I think it's a 9 or a 10 maybe, because of the distance from your all's firehouse to there, and with a joint mutual aid agreement, they could get credit for the firehouse we have at Rooster Run. So that would be a way of helping that particular area get their ISO ratings back down.
I've had discussions with the chief on that, and actually, it's really just a small portion of that subdivision.
Yeah, just
Most of
one
that
little area.
subdivision is within the 5-mile radius, so they're already covered by that. Just a very small section of that subdivision is there, but from my understanding, and the chief's not here, I failed to get him the message, but the distance between is the issue more so.
Right.
And we can't move the fire a mile closer, so they may have that issue anyway, no matter what. So, most, it's not as big a issue out there as some people think. Somebody thought the whole Miller Springs, but that's not the case. It's just a small portion.
Just one little area.
Very back.
What about the hospital?
The hospital is part of that. They are further out than, like Farm Bureau.
Farm Bureau is all,
Yeah. And then, of course, hospital is beyond that. So it might be something to think about, just to tweak your memory.
Any of the staff, any of the folks, our department heads, have any recommendations city and county can work on together? Mayor and I, at the mayor's credit, has brought several of those little projects he talked about earlier, the RAID program and a few other little things that we've been able to do behind the scenes to a point to work together. So we're willing to work jointly with the city as many projects as we can.
Judge and I, we
Yes, Brett.
see each other several times a week almost anymore now. Just sometimes it's a formal meeting, sometimes
Bakery,
informal, so.
bakery.
Yeah.
Church.
So, you know, we've got really good open communications now that we keep each other up on things. And, it's kinda
Yes,
like-
Brad.
Probably something we as a group need to start looking at is our comp plan. And it's hitting on, Dean, your industrial prospects moving forward, where the county needs to grow. You know, we all as a group need to think about that, of where that needs to go. So that is on the front burner of what we need to be
Well,
as
the judge,
departments.
the judge and mayor and I have spoken about the comp plan, and Tim Butler, I've talked to Tim. The comp plan has been updated since 1996 and re-adopted, but there has not been a full comp plan,
New comp
prepared
plan.
since 1996. And with the discussions with Jessica and the city about infrastructure issues, the issue of the industrial park, now is a real good time and much needed time to redo the comprehensive plan. Of course, that would be, funding will be needed to hire a consultant to do that. But we've had those discussions, and we'll be bringing it back to you. But I think when we start looking at sewer infrastructure and water and gas and the need for an industrial park, we need to get that in the comprehensive plan now to anticipate that.
Here's what we're up against, just for those that don't deal with it on a daily basis. At the industrial park level, industrial property today is very competitive from one community to the next, even more so competitive than probably the last 5 years versus the first 20 years I was judge. Because some communities, their unemployment level is much higher than our community, but yet we still try to recruit these folks, and some communities are actually giving land away. Some communities are discounting property to the point they eat a lot of the cost of the infrastructure improvements. Those are things that we'll ask ourselves, continue to ask ourselves, how far do we go with that type? Because in order to do an industrial property today and say 300 or 400 acres, you could be looking at anywhere from $5 to $8 million in initial cost just get an industrial property up and going to have all the capabilities that you want it to have. And so we have to say, do we want tax dollars to subsidize those improvements and have something else ready for the next generation, or what direction do we go in? That's going to be a big issue. Same way with homes. It's a little smaller in scale, but the same way with affordable housing, nice homes, nice subdivisions people live in. Because I can tell you, out in the rural areas, the good Pembroke soil that people are used to for septic systems are very limited now, very limited. And especially to stay within the Planning Commission's land use plan. So it is something that we have to decide, do we partner with private developers in some form or fashion, like some other communities have done on low interest loans or some type of infrastructure improvements, and hope to recoup that down the road. Lowell Gas and Electric, when we went to the industrial park, we spent $1.3 million. Got a check, the first check was $260,000 back, but I haven't got the second and third check. Because nobody's, it's slowly but surely filling up, but you can recoup some of those if you were to work together on new ideas. We got to think outside the box, that's for sure. I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, Brad and Jan, to your point with Jessica, we definitely are needing to coordinate what's going to be the demand from an infrastructure standpoint, what smart growth is going to be about, and even at the industrial development side, we see a reason now, because of what the judge mentioned earlier about a shortage of land and infrastructure, that we've got to be looking longer term and more in a strategic planning way to determine where that growth will go, along with there's housing that comes into play there, along with everything else, to have adequate workforce here and training here, along with the infrastructure. So it's all tied together. It's not something that will happen overnight. It will take some long-term planning by all of us. Going in the right direction, we just got to get started.
I just would second that strongly, because over the last 20 years, we have had such peaks in our growth, and we had a lot of infrastructure that we built, and we're getting to the capacity of a lot of that infrastructure. Some areas we still have some available infrastructure, but just that comp plan is so important to our overall community in so many ways, because in some instances, we could maybe do some gravity, some trunk lines for infrastructure that makes sense, keep it closer to the center of where we have to treat things. We have had some unforeseen consequences of trying to develop so far out from where we treat the wastewater that it is basically completely eating away infrastructure that's only 15 to 20 years old. It's kind of hitting me in the face as I'm planning for the future. So now O&M dollars or capital improvement dollars to grow and expand the infrastructure, I'm having to put in to just fix, repair, and my existing infrastructure that should already have existing capacity, but because just the nature of what we're dealing with, it's so corrosive, it's having some unknown impacts that I don't think anybody long-term really realized when you pump things such long distances. So those are just all things I'm really glad, and we've always worked very well together, but having everyone here working together and being on the same page, working towards these goals for the community, because it does affect everybody. But I thank your efforts.
Ms. Joe?
A couple of things on the emergency services side that I'd like to bring forward for you. About 3 years ago, we were approached by the Bardstown Fire Department that they would like to get their firefighters EMT certified, and could we help them with that? We're a training agency with the state, so we held 2 classes for the firefighters over the next year and a half and got those folks certified, and a part of that certification, they now respond to 911 calls with us in the Bardstown city limits area, which has turned out to be a pretty good asset for us on several occasions. On emergency management side, Judge talked about the weather sirens, and most of our weather sirens are somewhere between 1996 and 2002 models. So we last year and a half we've taken a real effort to try to either replace those through the grant process or through county funds. We've just replaced our 4th one in the county out of the 16 we have, and we're going to add one to the Nazareth area, which will make 17 in the county, and I think the city has 6. So through grant processes over the next coming months, we'll continue to work to replace those sirens as needed. On the other side, Greg and I have been in discussions for quite some time on the need of an official emergency operations center. For years, we've utilized the training room at the sheriff's office for a makeshift emergency operations center, and we've been very fortunate that we haven't had a huge disaster in our county where we have to bring our elected officials and our department heads together in one room and deal with it. So we want to move forward with that. We're looking at some funding mechanisms. I've talked to Judge Watts. I know Mayor Heaton's been involved in some discussions. So on our project list, that's kind of a long-term project, but that's something we feel like we'll be wanting to work on in the coming years.
I think what Joe's talking about is a fortress. Something that's more substantial than our sheriff's building, something more substantial than we've had. Obviously, with the generator at the sheriff's office and the dispatch center, having that power source available is very important. So maybe structure-wise, we need to really look hard. If we were to do some other expansions down the road, whether it be a fire station, new fire station, one time she was talking about a new fire station, we were talking about a joint, maybe a fire ambulance station somewhere at one time, but those are things you do talk about. You may not be able to do them in money crisis time like we're in right now with this pension plan, but it is something we can start having the conversation about. Anybody else? Magistrates, council? Otherwise, main purpose of this meeting, just get everybody sitting around the table and break some bread together and talk and see faces again on a regular basis. We see each other passing a lot of times, and I'm sure when we adjourn this meeting, we will have some other conversations amongst ourselves. Yes, ma'am.
Are we planning on doing this on a 6-month basis or once-a-year basis? I think it's good. I've met Rhonda, who I've talked to the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's nice to see her.
Yeah, we need to look at that. Most certainly it's a good idea, to see how hard it is getting all these guys together.
Well, if it's scheduled certain times,
Yeah.
well, then everybody knows, then.
Yeah.
And did pretty good, turned out right. For not a whole lot of notice this time, so.
We want to thank you all for participating, and just as a follow-up to something the judge said earlier, we can have some of these discussions about some of these agencies, and whether it's police, whether it's fire, whether it's recreation, but to the judge's point, it has to be good for both parties, both sides, it has to be equitable, and, we may have some discussion about it, we may find we can't make it equitable for everybody by changing anything from where it is today, but at least I think we're all open-minded to having some of those discussions down the road and having more of these discussions. The magistrates working together with the council members and the judge and I working together, I think all the staff is just going to make things better for the entire county population. So thank you all again for coming.
This time,
Wait a minute, I've got a comment.
Okay.
I would like to thank Mayor Heaton and Judge for getting this together. I think the more we get together, the better our community and county will be. Because unlike you, I didn't even know what to expect at this thing, but the next time, if I know what's gonna happen in 6 months, I promise you I'll have 4 or 5 pages. I mean, we really didn't know.
No more county issued ink pens to Keith Metcalf. Put that on my list.
Well, I think everybody here, you all got concerned, but nobody knew what to do. And I want to thank the new city council. I think I know most of you on a personal basis. And thank you all for getting Bardstown together. I absolutely think you're doing an excellent job. That's all I got to say.
I'm going to entertain a motion from one of my magistrates to adjourn the fiscal court meeting. If I could get a motion by Sam Hutchins, second by Bernard Ice. All approved, say aye. Aye. Disapprove, motion carries. Mayor, your turn.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn the city council meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Williams, do I have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
That's right, I'm part of it.